Hey Bookworms, welcome back to my channel. I know what you're thinking. This is June. Why is she doing a year recap halfway through the next year? Well, hear me out. So I've been thinking that for the past few years that I have the channel, I've never did a year recap, you know, the best and worst books that I've read this year. And then I thought about it and realized that I really should do one because, you know, that's a good video to do. And then I thought, oh my God, I should have done one for 2017 because there were some really awful books then. And, you know, the most fun part is to talk about the bad books. And then it hit me. Anyway, the books that I've read in 2017 weren't written in 2017. That's my thing in this channel. I don't do reviews of the newest books, so why does it matter? So because it's my channel and I can do what I want, I decided half a year too late, I will do a recap, the best books and the worst books that I've read in 2017. So here we are. So let's get started, and since, like I said, the most fun is to talk about the worst book, I will start with the best books, and unlike other lists, I will actually do it in order. I will save the best for last, that is, the best book will be last and the worst book will be last. And may I just say, it was so difficult to decide about the order. Some were clear. With some books I knew exactly which will be last or first or whatever, but it was very difficult to choose with some of them. By the way, I will not be going into details about the plot. If you want more information, I did a full review on almost all of these books. I will link them all down below. I didn't review two books, one from each side of the list. I will say which one they are when I'll get to them, but the rest, if you want more information, feel free to check out the full review. Okay, so let's get started with the best 5 books that I've read in 2017. And at number 5, we have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This book is short, to the point, and hits you exactly in the right places. This book is about grief. It's about coming to terms with the loss of someone you love. And the way it does it is so unique and so impactful. This book will surely get some emotional response from you. At number 4, we have Dune by Frank Herbert. This is a classic in its own right. I'm usually not such a huge fan of those kind of sci-fi novels, but I love this one. This is really an old school science fiction novel with a great world building, great characters, both good and bad. It was just a fascinating book. At number 3, we have Dragonfly by Anne McCaffrey, and this is the one book that I did not review from this side of the list. I just know that as I will read more books by her, I will be a huge Anne McCaffrey fan. I'm already a fan, but the huge part will probably come with the books. There is something so good and even comforting about her books, even though it's not a feel-good book. I can't really explain it, but it just felt good while reading it. It's also great plot, very interesting, has great female character, which is always a good thing. And, you know, dragons, in my book, are always good. At number 2, we have Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King. And I've mentioned it before, I either love or hate Stephen King, but this one is definitely one of his best works. Not to mention that it has one of the scariest, most suspenseful book scenes that I've ever read in my entire life. Can I just mention something totally unrelated? I will. It will make the video longer, but I will. So in the review of Dolores Claiborne, I mentioned this very suspenseful, scary scene. Obviously, I didn't say, and I won't say right now what exactly that is, but if you've read Dolores Claiborne, you probably know what I'm talking about. And in the review, I also mentioned that right before, like the night before I read this scene, I had this awful, terrible dream that so reminded me, like as I was reading the book, it reminded me of the dream, and it just made everything so much worse and so much more impactful. So I will just tell you because, you know, why not? Apparently this YouTube channel is also therapeutic for me because I get to talk about stuff. Right before I read the scene in the book, I had a dream that I kill someone. I have no idea who that is. I have no idea why I killed him, but I killed him. And then like the majority of the dream was me dealing with the consequence of me killing a person, and I remember seeing his body just lying there, and I think there was blood, and I was so scared and depressed and feeling regret because I just killed a person, and like I thought, I have to do something with the body. There's a dead body here and I caused it, and it didn't move, you know? And I remember in the dream, I just decided to kill myself because I thought, you know, that's it, my life is over. I don't want to go to jail. Like, I can't go to jail, so I'll just have to kill myself. Oh my God, that was one of the worst dreams I've ever had. Now think of that, think of the state of mind, because usually when you wake up, you think, okay, thank God it was all a dream, it's not real, but you still remember the feelings that you have, like the feeling of feeling scared and, you know, whichever it was in that dream. And just think about those feelings and then of the scene, if of course you write a book and you know what scene I'm talking about. Think of the two combined and try to imagine my state of mind while reading it. And oh my God, that was literally nail-biting scene. And yeah, just wanted to point that out for more extra impact. But anyway, this is definitely one of Stephen King's best works. And at number 1, we have the tongue-tying book, The Secrets of Drearcliff Grange School by Kim Newman. I started really falling in love with Kim Newman's writing after I read this book, and it was kind of funny because as I was doing the review, you can see it if you want to see the review, this book isn't perfect, but I don't know, I love the feeling that it gave me. I wish I've read more books like that, especially as I was growing up, especially as a teenager. I really love the whole plot of the weirdo meets equals, and it was just done so great, and I love the story, I love the feeling of the school and the friendship, and I love the strange powers that the characters had, and I just absolutely love this book, and it started out my whole romance with Kim Newman's books. Okay, so those were the best 5 books that I've read in 2017. Now let's get to the good part, which means the 5 worst books that I've read that year. At number 5, we have Travels in Scriptorium by Paul Auster. Unlike other books on this part of the list, this isn't a really bad book. It was simply forgettable. The idea behind the plot, which you only find out at the end of the book, that was pretty cool, that was pretty interesting, but the rest of the book and the fact that the twist at the end was incredibly predictable just made this book incredibly underwhelming. At number 4, we have Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. This is one of the titles that made me think, what was I thinking? This book was a very simplistic, cliche chick lit. The reason for why people said it was different from other chick lit and a lot deeper is beyond me. As a woman, I'm offended. Every single cliche I can think of is present, the characters are stupid, and the choices in the plot make absolutely no sense. At number 3, again, we arrived at a book that I did not do a review on. This is Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. God, I absolutely hate this book. I also hate the movie, in case you were wondering, since the movie is a lot more famous. I do get that I'm not the demographic. I do get that it's set toward more male demographic that are all inherently violent and all hate women, because apparently all women do is just to spoil all the fun. I'm sorry. But I hated the message, I hated every single moment, and especially hated the twist that, let me tell you, doesn't really make sense. At number 2, we have The Magicians by Lev Grossman. I can talk forever about the inconsistent plot, the bad grammar, the lack of any progress both with the plot and the characters, but I think the biggest offender here is the protagonist, who is awful, selfish, and borderline rapey. All of these things made the book almost unreadable. And this year's or last year's greatest offender, the most awful book of them all, the book that before I tell you which one it is, I want to mention or remind you, if you've seen the review, that people have been raving about. People said that it was so good, so scary, so suspenseful, they couldn't find one wrong thing to say about it, and I hated every little thing about it. At number 1, we have The Devil of Nanking by Mo Hader. Sorry, fan people, but this book was crap. Total crap. The protagonist was an antagonizing moron, the plot didn't really make sense, and the villains weren't intimidating at all. I shut this book angrily so many times and had to force myself to continue reading. This isn't only the worst book of 2017, this is one of the worst books that I've ever read in my entire life. And guys, this is the end of the list of my worst and best books of 2017. What did you think? Do you agree or disagree with some of my choices? Of course, if you're interested to know more why I loved or hated those books, feel free to check out the full review. As I mentioned, they will be linked down below. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to the world this lovely video. And if you want to get notified every time I upload a new video, don't forget to click on the bell icon at the bottom. And I will see you next time.